Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5 Minutes PM podcast. Today, I'd like to start a series of podcasts about cost estimation. And why I'm doing this? A couple of months ago, I got the credential Certified Cost Professional from AACE, Association for Advancement of Cost Engineering. And a great friend of mine, Aldo, from Brazil, he wrote a blog in his Brazilian blog about this. And I said, look, I need to talk more about cost estimation. And not only for engineers or for construction, but for everybody. Because people do not understand properly what do we want when we are doing cost estimation. So basically, when we are estimating cost, we want to forecast the cost of a project based on the scope. Most of the people do not know the difference between cost estimation and cost budgeting. They think it's all the same thing. It's not. Cost budgeting is a deterministic process. You do the budget of your project based on all the detailed information. So let's suppose you are building a house. So you count the number of bricks you need. You make the calculation of the numbers of doors, the amount of cables, electrical cables. And then with all this detail, you calculate the unit cost and then you forecast your final cost doing the budget of the process. But look, when you are budgeting the project, sometimes this process is very, very heavy. You need to do a lot of work, and many times you do not have this information, and you do not want something so sharp. Many times you just want something that is an approximation. And this is exactly what cost estimation is about. Estimation means an approximation. It's not a sharp number. It's some kind of simplification on the process that allows you to make decisions without all the burden, without all the effort of the budgeting process. I will talk to you about 5 basic processes. And this week I will start explaining 2 of them. The first one is physical dimensions. This is probably the easiest one to do and to explain. For example, you calculate the cost of a property based on the square feet. So you say, okay, this house cost $300 the square feet, and it has 1,000 square feet. So the cost is 300,000. So it's a very basic, and it's very easy, very straightforward. But of course, you need to be aware that when you are doing this simplification, you consider that every square meter is identical to the other, that there is no more complex square feet. Let me give you a second example. You calculate the cost of a road, a basic road, based on the length. So you tell me, Ricardo, 1 mile of road costs $3 million. This road is 10 miles, so $30 million. So it's a very, very simple. You have some physical dimensions, and then you just multiply the 2 of them. The second process, the second way, it's what we call units of final product. So let's suppose that you are building a hospital. And then you can check historical information and you can say the cost of 1 bed. So let's suppose that your database or the external database, you can find this in many books, they provide this information. So the cost of a bed, let's suppose, is $50,000. And you are building 100 beds hospital. So what do? You take 50,000 and multiply by 100. 50,000 by 100, 10 is 500, 100 is 5 million. So you can estimate that this cost is around 5 million. You can, for example, let's suppose that you are a restaurant chain. Okay, you are a restaurant chain, a very big chain. And you want to open a new restaurant and you want to estimate the cost. You can estimate the cost based on the number of clients. And you say, okay, each client costs $10,000. So how many clients do I want to have on the restaurant? And then I just multiply. Again, this is a very basic simplification. But this is a way to help us to estimate the cost. And there are many, many, many tables. So it's very common in civil construction to do that. And if you do not have this, you can build this database from your previous projects. You can say, okay, we already built 25 restaurants. So how was the actual cost? The number of guests. Can we simplify and try to create something like an indicator on that? Many times you can get this information from the market. Many times you need to develop this. But in both ways, you need to understand that this is not a sharp number. But this will give you an estimation that will help you to decide. Next week, I want to talk to you about the 3 other ways of calculating the cost. One is the capacity factor. The other one is the proportionality factor. And the other and last one is the parametric modeling and neural networks. These 3 are more complex, but many times more effective. So it's always a trade-off on the amount of effort you need to put in on the estimation and the quality of the results. So let's think about that, and next week we'll continue talking about cost estimation.